All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our Meet the Candidates. My name is Madeline McCloskey, and I'm hosting this event. I saw a need, and I thought, let's all get together and talk with our neighbors. So we have Aurelia Scharnhorst, and we have Mandy Waldrop, we have Tim Santee, and we have Susan Darst here this evening, and they'll be answering all kinds of questions for us to help us make our decisions. You'll notice what our format is over here. And if anyone has a problem with this, you can host this next year, and you can do the format you want to do. How about that? We're going to give them about 3 minutes to make introductory statements. We'll have some general questions. Then we'll have specific mayoral questions, our audience questions that we have here. And then after that, we'll break for a meet and greet. We've got coffee and water and cookies and stuff like that. So our expectations for behavior, that we want to ensure that no disruptions happen and to maintain a respectful atmosphere. We're not interested in noise tonight. We're not interested in clapping or booing, loud mumbling or cheering, and you can tell I've had a long day at work dealing with 12-year-olds. So at the end, let's all clap and everything, but until then, we're just not going to do that. All right, well, Aurelia, we're going to go ahead and start with you. Consider stand.
Not press anything? Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm Aurelia Scharnhorst. I live in Celine Hunter's house on the corner of Hillside and Lookout Mountain Trail. My family and I moved here 10 years ago from Virginia. I have my husband Ed and my 2 boys, none of whom are here tonight because they're all out of town. I am running for seat 4 unopposed, so you got me whether you want me or not. And I'm here because we feel like the stars aligned when we landed in Gray Forest, and we want to keep Gray Forest the way it was when we got here, and keep it protected. And that's about all I have. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions as we go.
Which is good, because I went that hers was short because everything said 5 minutes. So I prepared 5-minute opening statement. So I'm going to take her minutes. I did promise my mother I wouldn't do a liberty or death speech, so I'm really going to try. So bear with me for the next 5 minutes. That hopefully I won't. Right off, I want. I'm right. It's right here in front of me. Did you stop my time? Because my screen is blank. I've heard rumors going around that I wanted to defund the police and some things that my parents supposedly did 30 plus years ago. None of them that I've heard are true. But I figure if all they can think of to say about me are falsehoods, then I must be doing pretty okay, right? I was born and raised in Gray Forest. Up on the hill over there is the house I was raised in. I used to practice Little League, and I broke my nose right out there on that field. And I had a horse accident in which I almost died right out there in the parking lot. I brought my now 11-year-old son, who I saw a second ago, but I don't see him now. Oh, he's outside. Home from the hospital to a house that's just 7 doors down from the house that I was brought home from the hospital in. I have a Bachelor of Arts in English, and I have a professional certification in Geographic Information Systems. I served as the Scenic Loop Playground Club president and implemented activities that we still kind of hold as traditions today. I volunteered with the legal aid firm and coached for the YMCA, and last year I was on the road committee with what's his name? But there's no title or award or degree that can equate to my greatest qualification to hold office as mayor, and that is that I really love Gray Forest, and I love the people that live here. And my devotion and passion for Gray Forest are very real. Some of you know that. I think like Gray Forest because I am Gray Forest. Some of you know me as a town crier. I go around with the petitions. Some of you know me as the voice for the citizens, and some of you know me just as friend. But regardless of how you know me, I'm the woman that Gray Forest and the people that live out here made me, and Gray Forest just runs in my blood. I'm supposed to talk about current and future issues that are here and coming, but the reality is this election isn't about my agenda or my objectives. This election is about you. I've been conducting a door-to-door campaign, so I've gotten to see a lot of you face to face. And there's a lot of issues that have been voiced by the citizens. The ongoing and astronomical legal fees, developments closing in around us and the crime that might bring, the already ridiculous traffic, we have underpaid police officers, we have a pervading unkindness that makes some people feel fearful out here. We have ordinances that persecute rather than protect. We have a general lack of transparency. We have an unresponsive council. The city's broke. We have an aging community, many of whom need assistance. And universally, everybody wants to preserve and protect Gray Forest, the magic and the spirit that it is. And that's only a short part of my list. But I've been thinking over for the last month as I visited with people what it all boils down to, and what I came up with, that at best it equates apathy, and at worst, just sheer disdain. It's odd to me that most of the council people only know a handful of citizens at best. I spoke with one citizen that said that this was his fault, that he should have gone to meetings to meet the council people. But that's not actually the truth. They volunteered to represent us, but they never took time to meet us or talk to us or hear our concerns. Perhaps they are trying to be city leaders, but we elected them to be public servants. So how does someone represent people that they don't know? Moreover, some of them don't even care to know. I got an email from a citizen expressing concern over my possible lack of ability to observe parliamentary procedure. She acknowledged that I genuinely care about the citizens, but felt that my alleged lack of decorum would be more important than the real concern and love that I have for the people. But that's not right either. If elected officials care about people, then everything else kind of can fall into place. Some people learn parliamentary procedure all the time, but you can't teach someone to care about people. If I know you, and I think I know most of you, I know I care about you. And if I care about you, I'll fight for you. And isn't that what we should want in elected officials? Someone who takes the time to know us, and someone who cares about us, and someone who will fight for us in the city that we love. When citizens are valued, their rights and opinions will be honored. They'll feel welcome at public meetings. Their voices will be heard and taken into account. Employees they value will have appropriate salaries. Projects and programs important to them will come to fruition. Private property won't be at risk. Loved landmarks will be protected, and promised services won't constantly come under threat of removal. Yes, Ben, was that my 5 minutes?
I think it went beyond that. The timer's sounding as the alarm is off.
Yeah, I have just a little bit more.
Oh, wait, I'm
Justice
sorry.
Marshall wrote about poverty of vision.
Andy,
Yeah.
we have the time.
I timed myself,
Yeah,
and so I know
I
it is.
understand. Your 3 minutes is up.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and let's move it down.
I thought I got a really as leftover time.
No, you don't get minutes.
I tried. Did you see me?
Yeah.
Not see me.
Good evening, everybody. Those of you I haven't met, I'm Tim Santee, and keeping the tradition, I live in Dottie Watt's old house, so everybody knows where I am. Tiffany and I live there, and lived here for 4 years, and been in the Helotes area for 20, and just want to thank you guys for coming. This is the biggest turnout I've seen, so this is fantastic. Also like to thank Madeline for putting this together. Appreciate it. A little about me. So I grew up in a small town pretty similar to Gray Forest, a few hundred people, and similar things, natural beauty and great neighbors and really friendly people, and similar challenges too. So I understand what I see happening around us. I attended college. I was originally from New England and was commissioned in the Army and did logistics in the Army, both in the States and in Europe. I've worked in several capacities since my military time. So I'm a licensed engineer in the state of Texas, and I've worked for doing process engineering and manufacturing, plant engineer for HEB in 2 different plants, was a vice president of operations for a lab testing company all over the US and Canada, and currently I'm responsible for facilities engineering for a company that has 30 locations across the US and Canada. You know, it's really just a little about me. It doesn't really mean much other than that's who I am. In these capacities, of course, managing budgets, managing people or whatever, so I feel like there's some applicability to trying to do things in the community. Obviously it's different but similar. But I think probably the role that I appreciate the most is being a father. I mean, I have 2 children. They're both grown at this point, but that's really more important than any career. So why am I running? I believe in Gray Forest and what it stands for. I'm thankful every day about all the great people, whether it's meeting Scott on the road as he's patrolling, or meeting neighbors as they're walking, or waving to people as they go by. Everybody's just really friendly here, and just really appreciate that a lot. I want to help us in any way I can navigate some of the challenges that lie ahead for us. I mean, we have a lot of challenges happening around us. I know sometimes we get hung up on what's happening in here and infighting, but at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. I've never talked to anybody in this community that says, I really want this to be a cookie cutter subdivision with sidewalks and I can reach out the window and shake my neighbor's hand, right? So that's really, we have big issues to work through, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands, you know, that I'm here to serve you if I were to be elected, and it's really about all of us. It's not about me or my personal agenda.
I'll wait for my timer. Okay. Hi there. My name is Susan Darst, and I'm a 22-year resident of Gray Forest with my husband, Josh. We moved to Gray Forest in January of 2000. In our 22 years here, we've owned and lived in 3 amazing Gray Forest homes, and we are most proud to be the parents of 2 children, Sarah, 16, go Panthers, and Ellen Fisher, 11, go Gladiators. I've served on Gray Forest City Council for 3 consecutive terms, during which I was mayor pro tem for 2 terms. Before City Council, I volunteered in the Scenic Blue Playground Club as the clubhouse chairman, secretary, and vice president. I was on the SLPC board during the conveyance of land to the city of Gray Forest. My presentation on the proposed partnership with the city is still on the city's website. Between SLPC board and City Council, I created the Gray Forest Community Education Organization to continue providing educational programs to Gray Forest citizens. Programs included Bexar County Department of Aging, Texas Forest Service, Texas A&M Ag Extension, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and the Greater Edwards Aquifer, to name a few. Professionally, I have over 10 years of municipal government experience in various roles: planning and zoning, administration, public relations, purchasing. I received the 2020 Certificate of Excellence from the Texas Municipal League for Continued Education in Municipal Government. In 2019, I completed the FEMA Logistics Section Chief Certification Program. I'm a member of the Texas Municipal League, the Texas Municipal Clerks Association, and the American Public Works Association. My objectives as mayor is to work with citizens and city council on the following 3 goals. Roadways. Our roadways are aging and in desperate need of repair. In partnership with city council, I plan to assess and grade our roadways, explore funding opportunities, prioritize and plan strategically for short and long-term roadway maintenance and repair. tree preservation. In partnership with the city arborist and city council, we will create a preservation and diversification plan that would include canopy mapping, incentive programs to plant diverse and oak wilt resistant trees, and continuing education to citizens on canopy health and maintenance. Public Works. Again, with the partnership of City Council, I would like to enhance our Public Works Department in order to provide more services to our citizens, such as a quarterly brush pickup, quarterly chipping, and bulk item disposal. With my service on Great Forest City Council and Mayor Pro Tem, as well as being versed in city operations, fiscal status and management, thank you for your time.
I neglected to mention that John Hayes unfortunately couldn't be here this evening with us. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our general questions. And so what we'll do is, I've got a list of questions, and we'll go ahead and give the first one to Aurelia, and then we'll have, well, you're sitting right next to me. You should have gotten here kind of far away. You're not getting out of the questions. Anyway, and so we're going to ask you a question, and then I'll have Wendy answer the same question, and then we'll have Tim and Susan do the next one. We'll go like that. All right, so our first question is, explain what you think the 3 most important responsibilities are of a city council member. You have 1.5 minutes.
Okay. Obviously, I'm a representative of the citizens, so I am representing you on the council. I don't know what else to say. The 3 things that a city council does. I would say preserve the community, the safety of the community, budgeting, making sure the community budget is met and adhered to. That's 3. Safety, budgeting, and representing you.
I gave her that answer about safety, so that was mine. But I do think that that's important, but I think that really it's just one job. If you represent the people, then all the rest, you will save their money, you will protect them, you will be ready for a freeze, 5 degrees of terrible weather. And so, if you represent and care for the people, those things take care of themselves, don't they? There you go. You want my time?
All right, our next question that we have for our next 2 people is that, I know 2 people, and then we'd have 2 people. Do you want to hear the answers from everybody then? Yes. Oh, great, okay.
Sure. So obviously, as a representative of constituents, we're supposed to be the voice of everyone. So I think the first thing is to make sure you understand what your constituents want before you vote. Secondly, to, obviously it's been said, provide for the common good, which takes on all kinds of aspects. So fixing the roads, policing, fire, emergency protection, etc. Fiscal responsibility, obviously, that goes along with that. And then really future planning, especially with everything we have going on around us, thinking outside the box and looking for ways to future-proof what we have with everything going on.
The 3 things, number 1 is to represent the citizens in the strategic planning for the city. Second would be to create new and modify existing codes of ordinances. And 3 is fiscal with budget preparation and execution.
My mom doesn't have her hearing aids in.
Oh, should I start again? Should I do it again? Go over. Okay. 1 is to represent citizens in strategic planning. 2, create and modify existing code of ordinances. And 3 is fiscal responsibility with budget, with creating and executing the year-over-year fiscal budget.
All right, you want to keep it down there, and then we'll just pass it back there. Let's see, our second question is, what are your opinions about the encroachment and growth that is surrounding and approaching Gray Forest from the county and San Antonio? And what are your solutions what's a solution you might have for that, or?
Should I go?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting question that we could probably talk about all night long. There has been a lot of legislative changes in the last couple of years to keep cities like San Antonio from annexing smaller cities like us. But I would say the number one thing that we as a municipality need to keep sight of is the ability to enforce our zoning. So if we have development like just down Scenic Loop from us, we need to really articulate what is allowed and what's not. We also need to be good partners with our neighboring municipalities so that we're not going to stop change, but we can try to manage it. And with partnerships in our local communities, learning what's coming and being able to find hopefully a middle of the road in whatever those plans are. It's coming. Bandera Road will be commercialized in the next 10 years. So it's really just knowing what our rights are, what we want, and really upholding our current zoning.
Yeah, I would agree that there's really no way to stop it. We can try to moderate it, as many of our great citizens that are working on the Scenic Loop committee are trying to do, to interact with leaders from City of San Antonio, et cetera, to try to stop doing high density development. But at the end of the day, development of some kind is going to happen. It's the reality, and we have to face that. Now, what we do with it for ourselves is what matters. We can only control so much outside of our city limits with just trying to influence people to do the right thing. Beyond that, what we're going to end up having to do is, I think the biggest impact for us by far is traffic. Scenic Loop now, I run on Scenic Loop at night and you almost get run over. It's just a steady stream of cars going in both directions. And it's only going to get worse. And so we have to be really creative and think outside of the box of how we manage that, because that is by far the biggest thing. We have the gift that has happened through many people's efforts over the years of having these hills around us not be able to be developed, but the roadway is what's really going to get us, and we're going to have to think long and hard on what the right approach is for our citizens.
Thank you.
Are you ready? Unfortunately, some of the biggest developments are outside of our ETJ, so that we won't be able to enforce anything there. And so, like Tim said, the main thing is to try to mitigate the traffic for our friends that are on Scenic Loop, trying to make their lives not a misery. And I do think that there are ways to do that. And I think that if the citizens come together and the council comes together, that there's all kinds of possibilities and ideas, because we have a bunch of creative people out here. And I think that that's the best we can hope for, is to mitigate the impact of the growth around us, because we won't be able to stop it.
Yeah, I obviously agree with everything that's been said, and I think that, as Susan said, coding is important and zoning. We can hopefully prevent any widening of Scenic Loop, at least in Gray Forest, and I think that's going to be our big key. And then any kind of development, especially on that side of the road, coding so that we don't get a lot of high density.
Let's see. Our next question is, City Hall communicating with citizens keeps us informed of events and updates. How would you improve this process?
Say that again, sorry. We were arguing about who was going to start. Communication is a huge one. Everybody here needs better communication, and I've heard that year after year after year. So kind of waiting to see what the new website will do, and that text messaging and emergency messaging and all of that stuff that's planned. Hopefully that will be a big improvement in the communication. And if it's not, then we'll have to tackle it from there.
I really miss getting the emails about upcoming council meetings with the agenda attached. So, I mean, that's something that I would like to see again. And the meetings aren't always posted on the board, which I used to bring them to the meetings, but it's hit or miss. But I think generally for events, the communication is good. So maybe that can just be stretched over to the meetings.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a one-size-fits-all. The website obviously is going to be a great improvement, and I know that's underway. There's some people that maybe don't look at a website or don't have internet, so I think the marquee helps. That's been really good. When I drive out every morning, I see what's going on, so I think that's great. I think any way that we can increase communication for everyone collectively is going to be good, and obviously there's lots of applications that are out there today that will do that for us. So I think we just have to keep gauging. We have to keep gauging the, talking to the citizens and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't, because it's different for everybody. But I've seen it improve even just over the 4 years that I've been here. So I really think that that's been good.
Thank you. Yes, communication is key. Going forward, I mean, we live in an age where we consume information in so many different formats. We have social media, we have websites, we have direct email, we've got, we really have a rainbow of communication options. And I really would like to see the city utilize more of those different options. Now, there will always have to be a primary source of information that is always going to be the marquee in the internet. That's prescribed by local government code. But things like programs like TextMyGov, which is a program that the city is currently looking into, where you would get a text, you would opt in, and you would get text alerts. Now, those wouldn't be things like city council, it would be more emergency management, but it's a direct text, it's nothing you have to register for. Utilizing social media, everybody's on, well, a lot of people are on social media. Utilizing that to push non-immersion information. Email, of course, special events. So really, I advocate using all the ranges of information, but again, with a stressor that the official means of communication by the city will always be the websites. But yes, I don't believe you can over-communicate. I mean, that's our job.
All right, our next question. If you could change one thing in Gray Forest, what would it be?
Nothing. I would like the creeks to flow. Can I have that? I just speaking personally, I moved here, I had my children here. My kids think this is a magic playground. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, we have a great community, and the things that we don't like about our community aren't a catalyst so that we make it better. It's great to have different opinions. It would be fun if everyone thought the same. I mean, that's the great thing about our community is that, every once in a while we have meetings like this where we talk about what our differences are. But really, in the end, we're all neighbors. We all want it to stay not just the way it is, because we know that it's not going to stay exactly the same. But we value what we have, and we want it to, I want it to be just as magical for my children who I hope live here when they're adults. So I'll go with running water in the creeks.
I wouldn't change anything about the place. It's a pretty amazing place. I mean, we're surrounded by, every morning when I drive to work, I realize, hey, I'm only 5 miles away, and it's like craziness. And then you come here and you can't hear or see a thing, which is fantastic. I would like to see us, and I know this is easier said than done, but change our discourse a little bit sometimes. I mean, I think that there's a lot of divisiveness sometimes over things that we should all maybe take a step back and realize that we've kind of got it made here in a lot of ways, and we focus on the negative, and maybe we should just talk more and figure out how we can get to better solutions or to a solution to a problem as opposed to cutting each other down about it. I think that would really be the only thing for me.
Well, if I could change one thing, I do agree. Gray Forest is kind of amazing. It's pretty perfect. I would say less traffic, that we had remained a little more hidden like we used to be. And I do think that going door to door, I'm reminded how amazing everyone is, and I wish everybody could realize how amazing, like the whole population is. We have really amazing people and interesting and funny and have led amazing lives. And I wish that we could see that rather than the differences, is that, I mean, we have some really, I love the people here.
Yeah.
They're
I agree wholeheartedly with what everybody said. And in addition to the creeks flowing, I would love to get the pool cleaned out. When I first moved here, the kids and I we were in that thing every day, so I would like to get that going again.
All right, our last question for the panel here is, what are some of your goals that you hope to achieve by being on city council?
Gosh, I think we covered that, haven't we? Yeah, I think we've answered that question
That was
before.
the first question, wasn't it?
Okay, then I guess we'll finish then. Does anybody have anything they want to say about that, what you'd like to achieve on city council?
One thing.
So I didn't talk about it earlier because I was trying not to run out of time, but obviously the roads, I mean, we spent a lot of effort. Mitch asked us to put a committee together 2 years ago now, I guess it was. I think so. And our roads are not like giant potholes and falling apart, but if you look closely at them, they are starting to crumble, and we really need to make a concerted effort to take care of them. Scenic Loop is the worst, again, because I'm on it all the time and I look at it, even with all the work they did a few years ago, it's starting to fall apart because of all the traffic that hits it. And we really need to figure out what we're gonna do to fund that. Mitch actually said to me the other day, a great idea, maybe this Build Back Better infrastructure bill, there's a lot of grant money, maybe we can get some money and really help us kickstart that, to get these roads back where they need to be. I mean, some of these roads haven't been touched in over 10 years, other than basic pothole filling. So it's really gonna be important that we do that to protect them so that they don't further deteriorate.
No, I didn't have anything. There you go.
Great, so we're going to start.
We're going to go ahead with our next section here. No, you're good. You're off the hook here for a while. We have our specific questions for our mayoral candidates. And so we'll go ahead and start down on this end. Oh, let me give you the card. What will be your top priority if you are elected mayor?
Well, I think I already answered that my top priority would be to address the people's top priority. And so that, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that needs to be done. We need to balance our budget, we need to fix the roads, but I think that all of y'all should get a say in that too. And so I think it's really finding a way to communicate with the people and see what we tackle first, because we have a lot to tackle.
Thank you. I think I've already communicated some programs that I believe through citizen input are important. Obviously, roadways, tree preservation because of oak wilt, really building our public works department. But one thing as mayor we have to remember is that the mayor is a non-voting member of city council. So really it's city council as representatives of our community, of our citizens, bringing those items to council to put them on the agenda, to take action on them as they're identified. So it's really not the mayor who says, we're gonna work on this project. It's really driven by council members because ultimately they're the ones who are voting on any action taken in our city government.
You want to hold on to that? Sure. All right, our next question. As mayor, what specific policies will you implement to improve the transparency of city government?
That's a really good question. Actually, I have it on my website. I didn't talk about it today because it's kind of boring Texas Comptroller stuff, but there is a recognition program through the Texas Comptroller where cities they're given a list of, so the city operates under local government code that prescribes what has to be available for reporting, basically standards of operation. Well, there's a program through the Comptroller's office, it's called the Financial Stars, that gives some criteria for advanced reporting that's not necessarily required by government, but they're there for a greater sense of transparency. So, for instance, we have to, by local government code, have to have our budget on our website. Well, under this program, we would post all of our checks. We would post our payroll. We would post, all additional financial reporting that's, by the way, available to anyone who asks for it, but it would be there ready for viewing. So I would really like, again, with council's approval, I would really like the city to work towards that financial transparency and then, of course, the accreditation that comes with it.
So this is a stolen idea, but I love it, is that I would really like to see, and I think that it would be a roundabout way of having more transparency, is if we had, say, Sean, you represent the people on Cedar Crest and the south side of Scenic Loop. So if they have a question, they can call you. And that if something's going on, you can contact them, even if you assign Noelle and Darlene to help you get the information out. Those are your people to talk to. They're your club. And Aurelia could have the Hill and all of that, but then you have a very specific person that you know that you can turn to if anything comes up. And they have a set of people that they can turn to if the city needs something and if there's information that needs to be disseminated.
Next question. Explain, and I think maybe you've addressed this already, explain what you think the 3 most important roles and responsibilities that the mayor serves.
Yeah, didn't we answer that? It was like, what are the top ones? No?
Susan, did we address that already?
Not specifically. Mayor versus council.
Well, I think that the mayor is supposed to produce the budget and present that to be approved. And they are supposed to watch out for the welfare, safety, and everything else of this city and the citizens. That's what I read on the TML website. That's Texas Municipal League.
It's actually a really good question because I think that unless you really look into it, you don't know what the differences are, but specifically the mayor helps create the budget and then it's turned over to the council and then becomes the council's budget. But it's really the responsibility of the mayor to come up with the first draft. The mayor is in charge of daily operations. The mayor is also the emergency manager for the city, so if there were anything that would happen, it would be upon the mayor's approval to start on all of our emergency management procedures. Also, the mayor is the only one who is able to enter into contracts with any entity for the city, and then of course the mayor sets the agenda. However, if more than one council member asks for an agenda item to be put on the agenda, it then has to be placed on the agenda. So then the mayor is the tiebreaker in the event of a tie. In the 6 years I've been on council, I have not experienced that. I would say those are probably the biggest responsibilities outside of council.
Okay, our next question, Susan, put that closer to your mouth, thank you. Next one is, what is the main challenge that you foresee in the role of mayor?
Well, there's lots of scary things about it. You know, I want to say it's hard to answer this, and because I don't want to set that position apart from council because they are one and the same. You know, really setting a budget which is a starting point for where we're going to go strategically. Obviously, that's allocating funding to what projects are going to get attention, what projects are not going to get attention. But the mayor isn't the final say because it goes to council. Council is the one who approves it. Daily operations, you know, the mayor is not necessarily in charge of the police. It takes actually council action to hire and fire that position. But really where I see it going is a very cooperative environment, especially with our mutual aid partners. If you don't know what that is, that's the city of Helotes and all the other municipalities around us that can help us reach our goals. A lot of the programs that I've talked about, the grading of the roadways, the canopy diversification, you know, those are things that I would like to see partner with our area resources because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are cities who have programs in place that we can take and we can tailor to our needs. You know, they also have resources that they can help us. We can help commodity purchasing through these agreements. So really collaborative.
Did you say what was our biggest fear or worry? Your biggest, what is the main challenge that you foresee in the role of mayor?
I don't know. I thought it was going to be like the biggest fear because I was going to say, poor Mitch has gotten to have every like nightmare, the freeze, the corona, bringing in a new secretary. So that would be my fear is that the whole thing would fall in. But I guess the biggest challenge. I don't know. You know, I feel very passionately about everything, and so that probably is my biggest challenge, to be able to keep all of that in check and not, you know, be me 100%. Just to be honest.
All right, let's see. Okay, this is similar to some of the others. Based on what you know about city government, what do you see as top priorities for the city and why?
Top priorities for the city? I think that we have to get our spending in order. We've got to work on the budget. We need the people to continue to feel safe because everybody loves the police. We need to work on the roadways because they are falling apart, and we had put together kind of a maintenance plan. And so I think that needs to go ahead and be implemented, that the maintenance starts happening on the street, even if we can't afford to repave everything at this moment. I think that those are the big things. Oh, no.
Well, as I previously stated, I mean, definitely our roadways are a top priority. Time emergent issues for the city is we're currently about to lose, well, our dispatch service is about to expire with the city of Helotes, and we need to make some decisions about who's going to be dispatching for us going into the future. That's going to be something that, those are decisions that are going to be made very, very quickly by the end of May. But I'm going to refer back to, my goals for the mayoral term, which are really to come up with a strategic plan for the, again, grade based on safety, a strategic plan for repair and maintenance. And I do believe the trees is something that we really need to get ahead of now, and really diversify our canopy so that if Oakville takes a hold of us like it did behind Dairy Queen and Helotes, that we're not completely decimated.
All right, here we go, our last question here for the mayoral candidates. What are the top 3 items when preparing and considering the annual budget?
Top 3 items for considering the annual budget. Well, you have to look at the historic patterns of spending. We typically go back about 5 years to take averages of what increases are. You have to identify expenditures for the coming year, needs, wants. And also forecast any revenue that are coming in. I mean, it's one change changes absolutely everything. Well, let me also say, I mean, really feedback from departments. I really plan on, I work closely with the departments to one, have them be very introspective of their own budgets to see where cost savings can happen. But, we need to identify what the needs are. We want our employees to have the tools to do their job and do their jobs effectively. So there's actually lots of considerations that go into the fiscal budget.
I think we need to stop feeling like we have to spend every dime that we get. I think that we say how much we want to set aside every year, and then we operate on what's left. So that then when big projects like the road come up, we actually have money to spend on those things. Or when we need to buy a generator for the well or for City Hall, we have money set aside for the things that we need. That's it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and look into our box of questions here. And we're going to, what did we say, 1.5 minutes. So these are questions that were submitted by people in the audience here, and we'll just go out of each one of these.
I was late.
That's okay. Darst, Scharnhorst, Santee, and there we go. Okay, here we go. Here's our first one for Susan Darst. And it says, if you become mayor, are you going to press taking 6 to 10 feet of property from homeowners for the right of way? If so, what is your plan to pay for the reconstruction of fences?
The answer is no. I don't plan on. The answer is no. I don't plan on any initiatives that would take 6 to 10 feet of property from homeowners.
Let's see, this one is for, your second, right?
Yeah.
This is for Aurelia. What do you know about Guajalote?
Oh my goodness. Do I need the thing? That if I could stop it right now, I would. That so far it's a go. I haven't heard the last on the saws. I haven't heard the last on the saws, which of the 3 options they opted for. I don't know if that is finalized yet, but I know that we need to fight it.
Can you tell us what that is?
Oh, the Guajolote development down here where it's gonna, I think the entrance is gonna be a continuation of Babcock, and they were gonna start out with, was it 3,000 homes? I think it's down from that now, but, and is it Lennar?
Yes.
Lennar, yeah. So that's what we don't want across the street from us. And I don't know, we can't stop it, but I think we can, and I think in the last council meeting, they talked about, as far as development nearby, this is not Guajolote, but an environmental impact study that the city has control of is one of the ways that we can kind of mitigate development. Is that right, Mitch? Yeah.
All right. Tim, here's your question. Oh, here we go. What do you know about Guajolote?
Seems like a popular topic. I wonder why. So, subdivision is about, I believe, 1,100 acres, and what I know about it is there were 4 options for the wastewater treatment. So 2 of them saws have shot down already, which is, one was to put lift stations over the hill back to Bernie Stage Road and tie into their main. The other was, the worst of all for us, was to run all the way down Helotes Creek with sewer line, and they shot both of those down saying, no, we're not doing that. So the 2 options that are left are, one, to put an on-site sewage treatment plant, which those are fraught with issues. Any of them that you see around the state where they've granted, TCEQ's granted permission to do that, it never ends well. They usually have all kinds of problems. So that's the one that we don't want to happen. The one that is probably our best option and we're really hoping for is that we make them have septic systems. So they would have to have aerobic systems. Their lot sizes would have to be larger. And so it would cut the amount of homes down, I believe, by 1/3 from what they were doing. So that would be the best option, but we've got kind of an uphill battle on that. So I don't know where that stands currently. There hasn't been more information recently that I'm aware of.
All right, here we go. Ms. Waldron.
What are you willing to support regarding the prevention of traditional traffic, specifically its consequences such as road noise, safety on scenic loop as a result of coming development?
Like ideas that I have to try to stop the traffic? Well, I mean, I did the petition to get the trucks stopped. You know, I walked when Charlie was like a little kid. Now he's a big little kid, but to make it no through for the 18-wheelers, but we also presented having stop signs. But everybody kind of shut that down, and then after I'd read some of that, it can really cause problems to have a bunch of stop signs. But I have talked about maybe we try to do a toll road, or we do something to try to prevent some of the traffic, or just make people go around, you know, dissuade them from using it. And I think that's the main thing, is to find a way to dissuade them from wanting to drive through, so that then we can go back to being hidden.
All right, our next question is for Susan. Can you explain all the uncontrolled spending that the city has done?
Okay. It's hard to answer this question because I don't know what spending you're speaking of. Every year, so how the financial cycle works for the city of Helotes, is a budget's prepared. It's supposed to be a balanced budget, meaning the revenue needs to meet the expenditures. It's created, started with the mayor, goes to council, and there is no spending. Spending so the police department, they get their budget. They have $50 to buy shirts. They have $100 to buy whatever. They may go over budget in a line item, but they cannot go over budget in their budget bracket. It takes an active city council to have any expenditure that's not budgeted. So the question of, can I explain the uncontrolled spending? To my knowledge, there is no spending that was not part of and approved in the fiscal budget.
Right, question for Mandy here. This is a question for both mayoral candidates. How will things be different with you at the helm, or will it be?
I think things will be different. I think that I really want to bring us together as a community, like I'd already said. And I really want us to get we have a huge gift every year of money, and I really want us to treasure that money and make the very most of it. And I think that those are important things to me, that we all enjoy each other and that we have the money to do the things we need to do. Do you want her to answer it as well?
I think every mayor is different. The difference that I would like to bring to the table is that, we've had a lot of unforeseen things happen in the last 2 years. Thank you, Mitch, for navigating those waters as well as you have. We are so thankful for you. I want to get back to business. The whole purpose of government is to provide infrastructure. I want to get back to roads and, public work, giving public works the tools that they need to do to help our citizens. I mean, really, I believe in communication. I hope that, if I'm elected mayor, anyone can reach out to me at any time. If I don't answer my phone at 11, it's because I'm sleeping. I usually go to bed around 9. But, open door policy. But again, my focus is I want to get back to work so that we have a plan and we know where we're going in the future.
And here's your question. What do you know about Guajolote?
Oh geez. Wow, what? I feel like I should tell y'all a joke that someone told me about Guajolote, but I will refrain. They want to put in 3,000 homes. They have 1,100 acres. I know that they were ordered to only use a certain percentage. I think it was actually a third. So now they're trying to squeeze all of the same homes into even a smaller amount of space, which will make the on-site septics very difficult to do, because I think you have to have a half acre in the county to have an on-site septic. I know that if it comes to it when they want to hang signs, I hope y'all will let them hang signs in your yard. And I know we need to get information out. I've been listening to the calls. Scenicloop.org. Go and sign the petition. It's very important. Scenicloop.org.
Thank you. It looks like the rest of our questions are for Susan. Here we go, Susan. Nobody called you all year, but you're going to get all the questions right now. Okay, here we go. I live on Scenic Loop, so my main concerns are about traffic and speeders. How will you work to discourage both that hasn't been tried already?
you. You know, this is where I really have to defer to the subject matter experts, who's going to be our chief of police and our police department. I really think that police presence does a lot to impact the speeders. You know, we have the staffing. You know, I know that the police department has been diligent in analyzing our traffic patterns and being present during those times. So really, it's going to be a partnership between, you know, the mayor and the police department on addressing these issues. You know, as mayor, I don't want to come in and run the police department. That's Chief Rodriguez's job. I want to give him the tools so that he can do those jobs, the tools for his people to be able to do their jobs. So, that is my answer.
Is the Scharf litigation still going on, number one? And number two, if yes, what does city believe it benefits considering cost?
Well, I am currently a council member, and I am not allowed to talk about the Scharf lawsuit that comes from our city attorneys. I will answer very shortly. Is the Scharf litigation ongoing? Yes. What does the city believe it benefits considering the cost? I will speak for myself, and I will say it is the city's ability to enforce its zoning.
Okay, this sounds familiar. Okay, if you become mayor, what are your plans on fighting against the 3,000 proposed homes and to keep the sewer lines out of our creek to protect Gray Forest?
As I stated earlier, you know, the job of the mayor is really the liaison for our greater community. And this is really when your partnerships with other area leaders really help you have a larger voice for your community. A little bit about this proposed development is that these developers met with the city of Helotes. They never even called Gray Forest. So really, it's getting out there, letting our voice be heard, attending these San Antonio meetings, having an opportunity to speak up, and again, rallying our partner communities.
Susan, in your letter, you touted a long list of accomplishments in your community and municipal involvement. How with so much going on for you, will you be able to focus on Gray Forest?
I think pretty much everybody in this room works or worked at one time. I currently, I make time. I make lists. I like to think that I'm a pretty organized person. I don't plan on running it myself. We have amazingly talented council and police chief and administrative staff that, I'm there for support. So really the time difference between council and being mayor, I'm sure there's times it's going to be more labor intensive. I'm lucky that I have a very flexible schedule with my work. My family is incredibly supportive, and it's a challenge that I would really like to take on. I think that I've got the experience. I think that I have definitely the city's best interest at heart, and it's like anything else. If it's something you want to do, you make it work.
Letters from Jen and Susan went out to a small population of Gray Forest. Why did you not send to everyone, and why do you not represent the entire citizen base?
That's a very good question and a very unfortunate perspective. I sent letters to every single address I got from City Hall. I have a website, I have social media, and I have email. So like I said earlier, you know, we live in a day that we digest information differently. And I think that actually I've done an excellent job of getting that information out there and making myself accessible to anyone who's had questions. Anyone who's called me, I mean, yes, I work, but I've returned phone calls immediately. I, again, have several different ways of sharing my communications with citizens and taking any feedback from those communications. But if I missed anyone, please let me know and I can hand deliver or mail it.
Okay, all right. We found one from Andy, and I didn't realize that was there. All right, address the wild animals. Like the C2.
To habitat that kill our pets. The wild animals that Yes, and they are a problem. We had a really sad story from Dawn about her cat. And I do think we have to be careful because, you know, there is rabies here. And I don't know specific solutions, but I think that there are specific solutions because I met a man, Dad had somebody come that does trapping and stuff of coyotes. And so there are things that we can do to kind of get them out of here and maybe keep us a little, well, at least our pets and our chickens safer.
It's like Christmas. Oh, you put them back. Oh, okay. Okay, you did that one. Tell us a little bit. Huh? Yeah, I see that. You know, this is something it's a topic that has to do with the former mayor. Susan had nothing to do with this topic, and whoever has this question, if you'd like to come up, I'd be more than happy to give you Ron Reinhardt's, phone number, and you can discuss that with him. All right, let's see. That's it.
Oh, and what do I know?
Hey, what do you know about wildlife?
Wow, well, you know, we've heard a lot about the project. I think pretty much everyone's touched on my knowledge of it. I mean, I do know that the developer's given an option for fewer homes, to put septic. I mean, we all know, the developer's there to make money. I mean, that significantly decreases the revenue that they're going to get. Plus, I can't even imagine what that's gonna be like for Bear County with even 1,500 septic system inspections. Obviously the biggest part that concerns us is what's gonna happen to that wastewater. It's gonna go down our creek. I know that they said in their presentation that it would be managed by a A-rated septic system management company, the same as what they use for SAWS, who pumps their wastewater into the San Antonio River south of the city. And I think it's just really a waiting game to see, how they will be allowed to proceed. That's just an opportunity for us to be that loud voice to say that we're here and we do not want this in our creeks. And it's gonna take some loud voices. So, but that's about the extent of, and they're supposed to keep a third of their property open area, which just squeezes all the houses together.
All right, very good, thank you. Can we have a round of applause for our candidates? All right, we'd like to remind everybody that voting day is on May the 7th, and of course there's early voting now. We encourage you to do that. And that's a Saturday, is May 7th. Also, we've got our city's 60th birthday coming up this Saturday, and we'll be down here, and we'll have a big screen up there, and we're going to be showing a movie, so there should be all kinds of fun. And the popcorn machine will be going.
That starts at 6:15, and we're breaking in it's the maiden voyage of our new grill over there. Yes, ma'am.
Voting at and when is voting?
Voting here is from 7 to 7 on that Saturday. Early voting has already started. Monday. So you can go to like IGO. This is just for that day.
I go library, I don't know where it's at.
Okay.
Helotes is also on the website.
Okay, so City of Helotes. All right, well, we have our meet and mingle. We're gonna get some water out and some cookies and such, and we've got our people up here. If you'd like to ask them questions, now is the time to do that. Thank you.
Carol, for the cookies.